Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. And my people, today's voice, you're not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this. My first ever bodybuilding coach. Now, if you listen weekly, you'll know that I speak about Stephen a lot because not only from the physique development standpoint, right? Like the journey from literally nobody to Miss Universe, as it were, but just everything that we shared over our nearly 8 years together coaching, it really does feed into my own coaching and my own ethos as well. Because what better opportunity, of course, than to work with a coach for a long space of time. So, Stephen, welcome.
Was it 8 years, Sarah?
Yeah, I know.
Wow. I put up with you for that long.
Over this time, there was so many highs and so many lows. A lot of the time for me, I was in a bit of a neurotic space, as we could absolutely
No,
speak about.
no, Sarah, you were a delight all the time.
And now it's like I'm so far away from that. You'll be pleased to know with, you know, it was, how should we say, wild, my neuroticism. And the thing is as well, this opportunity to speak with you, it's like I can talk on a podcast, right? I can talk about all the different things that I was and how far I've come, but it's just me saying words. And you lived it with me, and it was pretty crazy, right?
Yes, and it is also a pleasure to be on the show, Sarah. So, yeah, I'm delighted to be in chat with you again.
Hmm. Should we talk about when we first started and you wouldn't give me a food plan?
No, actually, it really started when you sent me an email of complaint to say that uh, where was the food plan? There was no food plan. That was really where we started, Sarah. And also, I remember a Sarah that never ate chocolate.
You remember that?
Yeah, because I mean, wow, that was a shock. Yeah, and obviously it was it really was a journey because I feel like you had come, you signed up, you come for coaching, and you were one of the most passionate people, but I don't really think you'd quite grasped how or what your passion was going to be. You were just very passionate, but you were like a puppy dog basically, just excited about everything, trying every single different diet, listening to all the different pieces of advice out there, and I think you just kind of got a bit overwhelmed in all the, you know, jargon and confusion. And I think I just helped you sort of simplify some of that and just focus on like the next logical steps. And I think you'd sort of come to me with this idea that I don't know if whether you said to me that you wanted to compete or not, but you were extremely passionate about bodybuilding, weren't you? Already, like the kind of idea of it, I think. So there was definitely something there. But yeah, you were just extremely excitable on every single call, and you'd taken so many notes, and there was just you were like, Steve, I've got a list of questions, and I was like, oh my God, I better block out an hour for this one.
I'm
This ain't just going to be one of those 5 minute check-in calls. This is going to be a full-on session. But yeah, look what you've become. So, yeah, it's incredible to see that journey. And also, like, through not just how you grew as a bodybuilder, which was incredible to see, but also in all your other aspects that you do, as a content creator now, as somebody that's obviously gone on to do coaching and everything else, which is so great to see. Like you're running workshops I see on social media. That's brilliant because obviously that was something that I really enjoyed doing. And just to clarify now, I'm not coaching anymore in terms of fitness. So I've got no kind of like skin in the game, so to speak. So I don't really sort of have that need or drive to do that anymore. But I kind of feel like somewhat you've taken my mantle, Sarah, and I love it. You're sort of you're riding with it. So I think that's brilliant that I've sort of passed the mantle over to you and you've sort of taken over maybe where I left off. So or whatever that is, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's where I say it's transferred so much what we did as a coaching pair into what I now do, because there's not a day goes by, and you know how loyal I am, Stephen. You know what I'm like. And I think about our journey all the time because, of course, being a bodybuilder still, every day you're doing these things that attribute to your results and what you're doing and what I'm talking about. And I think about it all the time because this is where, coaching, I always reference this, having an opportunity to work with that coach for a long space of time and asking questions. Now, I obviously ask them to the nth degree, but what I've learned with this is that my level of neuroticism and how I was, I've then taken that into my coaching and I can spot what it's like. I can relate. I can speak to people about this and I'm able to then funnel exactly, the direction that we want to go. And it really does my coaching is very different to a lot of people. And as you said, it's like, oh, I need an hour for this one. I do have clients that will want to learn, that want to really fucking understand bodybuilding rather than give me a plan and I'll crack on. There's a space for that, absolutely there is, but I attract, similar people to me. But yeah, it's super fucking cool.
Well, I think, there's lots of different people always on their journeys, right? Whether they're wanting to, okay, so this is one of my sort of biggest frustrations with a lot of other coaches actually at the time when I kind of left coaching. And I kind of left coaching by the, I don't know, do people know what I do now, Sarah?
Well, I think we should probably tell them.
Okay, so now what I do is I just make YouTube videos in a nutshell, and yeah, I started a little YouTube channel, and we can get onto that later. But it's about the nerdiest game you could ever imagine. It's a game called Warhammer, and that's what I started my YouTube channel on. But now what it's kind of developed into is this crazy machine of just we set up live streams for different companies recently. 2 weeks ago, the British Army contacted us to live stream their entire boxing championships. We did that, set up their YouTube channel, and now they're like, "Oh yeah, we want you to live stream all of our sporting events." Like, great, cool. I didn't see that one coming. So now I just sort of create content for companies, run their social media accounts, do their product photography, videos, everything from developing courses, working with a company soon. Not sure if I should say too much, but it's in a really great space to help people recover from a different a type of addiction. So, going to be developing a course for them, which is cool. So, yeah, we've just become like a content creation agency off the back of making Warhammer videos, which is a bit crazy to think about. But anyway, I can get onto that later. But really, what I kind of got really frustrated with, and this is what I loved about, working with yourself, Sarah. You were an absolute bro. Okay, you were a bodybuilding bro. You were, clean eating, chicken, broccoli, and rice, no chocolate, and you were like, right, cheat day Sundays, whatever that was. And I loved it because actually that was my roots as well. I was a bro, and as the rise of evidence-based coaching really came about, and I think I was one of the first people to actually ever develop sort of a, sounds crazy, right? Like a macro tracking spreadsheet with calories, and there was nothing else like it online at all. I mean, I really feel like that was one space that I kind of somewhat pioneered. But the and obviously there were some other amazing coaches out there at the time doing, similar things, but to my knowledge, I was one of the first sort of people, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, on that. And but the thing that really frustrated me was all the evidence-based coaches that had no respect for the sheer hard work and dedication and graft that it really takes to actually be a bro and to get in the gym, to make progress, to build muscle, to lose fat, to get in the best condition ever. There was just this disrespect for it that, oh, they're not intelligent because they're clean eating or whatever, or they don't know as much as we do because we read an article back in 2019 by this author. Cool, great, like that's all well and good, but you're not practicing what you preach. And whether you do or you don't, you can be a great coach that hasn't competed. That's absolutely true. You could also be a terrible coach who has competed. So there's no like one rule of thumb. But I think what there really was a distinct lack of was people that could walk the walk and talk the talk as well. There was a huge lapse there, and so many people I saw would say one thing, yet I knew their actions spoke differently.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. This is something that I do mention it a lot as well. You know, when you follow people on social media, right? And you get this perception of what they do. And that's up to, amateur up to pro level. And you start to think, well, I should be like that. I should, do better. And it's based on a fictitious person. It's not reality. And I feel like as well that knock on effect to people that do follow the people that you've, mentioned and what have you, they start to feel the inferior complex. They start to feel they're never going to be good enough because they're not
Yeah.
able to do all of these things that potentially bodybuilders that do this as a full-time job, right? And it's it brings me back to I'm probably so it resonates so heavily with me because I was fucking nobody. Like I'm from Bognor Regis, and as you described, I'm this excitable puppy. I don't know what the fucking hell to. It's like, oh, I just love this thing. I just love this thing, and I'm still like that now, by the way. And it did for sure. I'd listen to things, I'd follow people, and I'd think, these aren't my people. I'm never going to be as good as them. I'm never going to have that physique, but I've got the work ethic. What do I do with this? Okay, I follow the dream. I find a coach. We do what we do, and it's relentless, Stephen. As when you don't place, then you do an off season, then you don't place again, then you do another off season. You've got to keep going, and that's hard,
But
right? It is hard.
yeah, and the unfortunate thing is, like, I worked with, I don't know how many people I actually worked with now, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know. And so many people came up to me and or come to coaching, and I worked with a lot of, I suppose I worked with a lot of bikini athletes. I
Yeah,
worked with a lot of fitness model types. Um, Never worked with too many big bodybuilders, to be fair. My expertise was never in, like the supplement side of the industry. So, yeah, for me, I kind of stayed in my lane, right? I could help people, compete in physique or classic bodybuilding or, fitness modeling. That I think fitness modeling was my kind of my area. And yeah, I used to get a lot of female athletes approach me, because of people like yourself. They'd seen your results or Varushka's or somebody else's. They'd been like, oh, yeah, I really want to work with you, Steve. Oh, but a coach told me that if I work with them, that I could place in my first show. And I was like, right, but you deserve to lose your first show.
love that.
They're like, what? I was like, you shouldn't go in there expecting to win. You should be grateful you managed to step on stage because not many people are. Like 1% of the people that have ambition to actually compete are going to. So you're already in the top percent by stepping on stage, right? Now, of course, you want to be somewhat competitive. You don't want to be an absolute mess up there, but and I mean that in the greatest respect of the world to people, but that is when we're talking about competitive bodybuilding, we need to sort of have some sort of defined,
Yeah.
I suppose, remit of what a physique shouldn't, to be competitive should look like. Now, you should lose your first show. You should lose probably the next show because it's this, and I think we're in certainly now as well, a world of just absolute entitlement where just because you've prepped for a show and just because you went to the gym for a year doesn't matter because everybody else did.
Mm,
In fact, they probably trained harder than you
mm,
and they've been practicing their posing regularly and they didn't binge eat and they didn't do all these other things that you might have done. And perhaps they've been training for 10 years longer than you. They deserve to win because they've put the graft in year after year and they're really, a professional in regards to, the whole mantra of like, 10,000 hours. And then all of a sudden you get to be to a place where you're, competent. But with bodybuilding, you've got to do that in posing. You've got to do that with your nutrition, with your training, getting your cardio. And there's so many elements that have to go in and be in place, right? Before you even go down the room of any sort of like supplementation, you just got to get the fundamentals and the basics right to have a core physique. And that I think is really lost on people is that they think, okay, yeah, well, somebody said I can win a show or I could play, so I'm going to sign up with them. And I was thinking, they're just trying to take your money.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not interested in your development over the next 10 years or the athlete you could become. And it's a little bit like, it's a funny one, right? I saw a Jimmy Carr a little sketch on social media, and it was like, oh, how should you tips for sort of bringing up toddlers. And he was like, well, you could half-ass it and put an iPad in front of them, or you could, obviously, you love them lots and you want to see them be happy now, but them being happy now is watching TV and eating junk food. But actually, you need to love what they could become. And I think that's where you need to give them, the vegetables and get them to read a book. So sometimes you've got to be a bit mean in order to see their potential. And I think that's really true. I would, not that I've ever brought up toddlers, as I'm not a parent, but I do feel like I've probably coached enough that I feel like were. And Sarah, I'd probably say that's very true about you. You could have come to me thinking, oh, Steve, where's my diet plan? I've so and so coach said that their diet plan, get me peak condition ready for a show and I'll win it. But, we look back, Sarah, and you lost a lot of body fat for it, but you didn't have the muscle, did you?
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And how long does it take to build muscle? Like way too long. That's what it feels like. So I think it is one of those that we are in a world of entitlement, but bodybuilding really is. And I actually talk about this a lot when I'm talking about like my journey and what I do now. My work ethic is unbeatable because I've got a real desire to achieve, and that really does stemmed from bodybuilding, and everything that those core philosophies taught me was that the person that will win on stage is the person that worked the hardest. Yeah, genetics can come into it, and maybe a little bit of politics here and there and some other factors, of course, but for the large majority, 80% of that work is going to be attributed to the sheer amount of work ethic that somebody put in. And that is so true whether you want a better career, you want a better relationship, you want to succeed in other places where and other people don't. It's work ethic, and I really truly believe that.
Mm. The bit where you said about it can be lost with how stepping on stage is an achievement in itself. And I'm always, when I talk about this on the pod or on my social media, I always think, there's an element of me thinking, well, there's going to be people that are like, well, stepping on stage is not enough, which I do understand to a certain degree. But when we talk about entitlement, a lot of it's going to stem from that. But it's like this pursuit, and you mentioned a percentage there, and it's like people will sign up for a show and not even make it to stage. And then when we transfer this across the whole of the world, you are part of a very small percentage of people that do this thing. Now, when you think about stepping on stage, you're stepping on stage with bikini or trunks or whatever you're wearing. You're literally exposing yourself to the nth degree in front of a huge audience, in front of people that are going to judge you, potentially give you, I don't want to say negative, but it can feel negative, constructive feedback. You're potentially going to lose, win, place, however that looks. I mean, what more of a challenge can you take on? And that's how I always viewed it with yourself. And when you are describing everything, people are going to go, okay, I understand Sarah more here because truly, I am essentially like a disciple of yours, Stephen, in the best ways. And it is, when you look at this and transferring that across into all areas of life, it builds the resilience, the grit, the challenges. I always think, if you can push through quite a large deficit and get to stage, you've already done things that you're going to go, well, that's quite easy in the in the other things in your life.
Oh yeah, and God, the biggest bugbear of mine as well was the moaning people gave me.
See, I told you guys, it's basic. I'm a carbon copy of Stephen.
Like genuinely, the moaning about being on a diet.
Yeah.
And you can always tell the sorts because they're extremely vocal about certain things, but they don't divulge that aspect of moaning about it. And they're typically absolutely balloon post show.
Yeah.
And it's awful actually because you kind of you go down the room of actually, or to go down the route, and I would kind of sort of looking back think of it as a, I mean, even at the time, it is borderline eating disorder, basically.
For sure.
But yet they get often, as soon as people start to go down that path, they start getting in good shape, and it's like that's their sort of certificate to tell other people what to do, and it's really obviously not right because what they're talking and what they're practicing is two different things. But yeah, the moaning is ridiculous because you're choosing to do this. Like that is your choice to starve yourself. And there's so many people out there in the world, and I always used to remind, myself of this, is that, yeah, you're choosing to do this. There's people that don't have any choice, and it is unfortunately their reality. And that is a horrible, horrible feeling. So shut up, get on with it, or don't do it. And it is really that simple because if it's something you're going to moan about, it's clearly not for you.
Yes.
You unfortunately need to learn to enjoy that feeling of hunger, fatigue, and tiredness because it is part of the process if you want to get there. And I would say, and I might be wrong, but I would say a lot of the probably most successful bodybuilders, they have an appreciation for it. Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe saying enjoying it might be a bit too far, but they must to some degree.
It's cathartic, I always feel.
Yeah, whether they enjoy the payout at the end, whether it's from the winning or the trophies or the business acumen it could potentially bring them, or just physically how they look, or their support from their peers or loved ones, or whatever. They enjoy certain aspects about it, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Either that or they're just stupid. So they have to enjoy some element and get some sort of satisfaction out of it. But unfortunately, the dieting is just part of that process, right? And like today, after this, I've got to do my accounts. That is not something I really want to do, but you just get on with it, right? On a Sunday, I do my accounts because I want to be able to do that before I go on holiday. Cool. But you just get on with it. Last night, I was working till 11 o'clock because my website had a little glitch or something. So yeah, sorting out till 11. You just get it done, but it's all part of that journey because then you get the reward for it once you've put the work in. And I think the people that I really saw succeed were those people that checked in every week, was like, look at my progress pictures. Oh my God, you won't believe this, but I've actually think I look a little bit leaner on the back of my quads, or, like the back of my triceps or whatever. Oh, look at this little tiny area. I think it looks leaner. Do you reckon? I'm like, yeah, it probably looks a little bit leaner. Could be the lighting, but if you're saying it's leaner, then good. And you get those people that are just like motivated by the momentum of the diet, right?
Yeah.
I'm like that at the minute. I'm trying to get back in shape again to a place where, maybe I'll do a photo shoot or something. But, at the minute, I'm enjoying my progress. Every week, I'm taking more and more progress pictures in the gym. Notice myself sort of flexing more, all that kind of good stuff in the mirror. And I feel myself on that journey, and I'm already like enjoying it. So you either have that in you or you don't. And there's plenty of other things that you could do if it's not for you. So you shouldn't also try and fight it too much. Obviously, I would recommend people give it a go if they're interested. But if people are telling you it's easy, they're lying. It's really not easy. But yeah, that's my biggest gripes is the moaning.
Yeah, I feel like, with the moaning and the sort of self-pity, as it were, etc. There's absolutely your first prep. You can get into those, maybe even your first few seasons. There might be people listening that are just doing that first prep and they're like, shit, I've just realised I'm moaning quite a lot here. And it's new, right? It's like, fucking hell, what the hell is going on here? I'm fatigued, as you say, I'm hungry, etc. And what I found for myself was it was always very internal. Like I didn't, my respect for you, I often reference that you were like this god, and I'm like, oh my God.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate that.
I don't want to be, I didn't want to use our call to be moaning. I want to use our call to go, da 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 da. This has happened. What can I learn? Da 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 da. And it was very much internal for me. I wouldn't give that off to people because, for one, it's like if I'm telling everyone this is shit, X, Y, Z, doesn't really sound like I want to do it. So are people going to support what I'm doing? And
No.
it just gives off this bad mouthing of, well, you're doing it every day, so why are you doing it? It doesn't really make sense. However, the internal dialogue, and it's something I had to work on, and this is why I'm saying, this could be people listening that are feeling this. I feel like it's okay to feel like you're up against it. It's okay to go, never felt like this. These levels of fatigue, etc., are hitting me. But it's what you do with that. So is it, God, I can feel this. Right, okay, this is helping me grow. This is helping me push to do something like step on stage. This is pushing me to get to the best condition of my life. How are you framing it? Because if you're just moaning, and I see, I had to unfollow loads of people on the stories, moaning, crying about a deficit. There's real life shit,
Oh,
you know?
the crying. Oh my God.
Yeah.
From the yeah, mad. But the here's the thing, right? And now obviously I've been through multiple preps myself. So the last show I competed in was the IFBB Diamond Cup, where I won the Fitness Model European Championships. 1 week before, I think I placed top 12 of the IFBB Classic Bodybuilding. And then the week before that, I won the British for fitness modeling. So that was 1 year,
Mm.
3 shows. Before that, I've done WBFF in Johannesburg, multiple UK BFF shows. Back in the day, did Miami Pro was one, I think my first one. So, I've been there enough. And I've also been with people that have competed. And I tell you what, who I feel the sorriest for in some instances and if you're going through prep now, I want you to think about this. Think about the people around you and how they view you. If you are this constant, tired, fatigued, moaning, grumping, irritable, low sex drive, neurotic, obsessed person, it's not attractive.
Mm.
No matter how good you think you look, it's really not that great because you only are as incredible as you are on the inside. So you need to work even harder than just the diet and getting over the fatigue and the training and the DOMs and the hunger pains and all the lack of sleep and everything else. You need to work even harder to be a good friend, to be a good partner, and ensure to the best part you possibly can where you don't change as a person. Because that's really, really important. Because otherwise, you'll look around and you'll realize that those people aren't there anymore. Or maybe they're not there in the same way that they once were there for you. And everybody wants to be supportive in the beginning, but that wave is pretty thin. Because remember, these people around you are not choosing for you to do this. You've inflicted this on them.
Mm.
This, you know, this cloud. Now, either you're going to be a sunshine and rainbows because you're going to be like, boom, yep, had a great gym sesh. Yep, I'm a bit hungry, but I don't care because I'm getting leaner. Had a great check in, and yep, I can now start to see my Christmas tree on my back. Boom, let's do this. Show in 4 weeks. Or you're there irritable, moany, and just miserable, right? And of course, like I grew up in a place where I got used to not drinking, right? I used to still go out with my friends. I'd always be designated driver, and that was okay. I'd still be sociable, and you've got to still try and do all those things. And this is where, like, I learned that flexible dieting can be really helpful because it can help you still be social. Like, even if it's go to Nando's or you go somewhere and you have a leaner, higher protein meal, that's great. You don't have to eat like an idiot, but you can still stay on track, be sociable, so you can still be that same person throughout this whole process. And actually, you'll realize at the end, your people, the people around you, are going to be so inspired by what you've done rather than resentful.
Mm.
And you can see these people on shows and they got their certificates or their whatevers, their medals, or their trophies. But how many people have they inspired around them versus those people that resent them now? And how much is that really then worth to you? So I think this is a decision that people really have to make is, do I want to go on this journey, and am I going to be able to have the mental resilience to not let this affect me in my relationships? And I think that's really crucial.
That's gold in itself. I Yeah, I hear a lot of, well, with coaches that go into a prep and they say, well, from 10 weeks out, your check-ins are going to have to be written, or you're not doing check-ins because I've got a show, or, all of these different things. That springs to mind as well, because it's like, what are we putting into the industry as to, yes, of course, it gets hard, and there is a lot of emphasis on, if you are pushing up the ranks, etc., potentially you've got to push yourselves more, etc. But again, it's like, I do believe, because I've done it myself, I can be in the absolute depths, fucked beyond belief, and I'm still Sarah. Yes, I might be a little bit dimmed down of the light, but I'm still showing up. I'm still doing these things. And I'm talking about, that progressing into as
Yeah.
far as I went, and it's a mindset. Like, I don't want my mum to feel like shit when she spends half an hour with me. I don't want to, but what I do realize is that when it gets to the tail end of a prep, now being with Matt, and it's actually, a relationship rather than previous relationships, it will be, can we just have a cuddle and watch TV rather than do these extra things 4 6 weeks out, right? So you adapt, but also communicate, right?
Yeah.
Not, you're a fucking dickhead, what? Because you're annoyed. How about you go, I'm not feeling good. I'm going to tell my partner, I'm feeling really fatigued today. Can you have my back? And what
Yeah,
it
because
does, it brings you closer together.
you're not, you are going to be more irritable. Like, and you've got to check yourself. Like, am I as patient as I normally was? And I feel like, do you know what? When I went through my preps, and you know me well enough and spent enough time with me, Sarah, to probably know this, but I wouldn't say I really changed as a person throughout the process of all those shows. I was still as, hopefully, as caring as I possibly could be, have as much empathy for others, be there to listen and be there to support others as much as I possibly could. Yes, you're like, you're right. You said you look like you're a skeleton face. You're completely hollowed out. People are worrying about you. You do look tired. And that's okay. People will understand it because you're still the same core root of the person. But some people really do change. A bit like if you have too much alcohol, it can either make you happy or it can make you very angry. And it can have a very, severe side effects on you. And I think prep is very much like that. But, and I look back now and I think about all the athletes that I worked with, in those that have still today fantastic competitors. It wasn't just a flash in the pan for them. They're still now in fantastic shape. And I really feel like that I managed to sort of have an influence. And that was great to see them now have that kind of like legacy as, of a physique. And I always sort of said, another one of my clients at the time, Michelle, I said, don't worry about what the judges think. You're there just to reveal your greatest sculpture. You are your own masterpiece, okay? And do you know what? It might only be 80% done right now, but we're going to show what we've done so far. And actually we're going to use the stage to highlight weaknesses, to get critical and you said it earlier, not to get negative feedback. Some people bloody need it, Sarah, because if you don't,
Yeah.
they're just like spinning their wheels all the time, right? You do need some negative feedback. 'Cause if you don't have negative feedback, you can never really grow from that, right? So if I said to you, Sarah, you've just not got enough muscle, that's pretty negative. I could try and wrap that up in cotton wool and be like, well, Sarah, actually, yeah, it was, oh, I think you were just holding a bit of water.
Don't do the holding water.
Mm, yeah, I think it was that last Jaffa cake you had. Probably
Holding
spilt you
water.
to, I think you spilt just a little bit. And that's why you didn't win, Sarah, on your first show. It
Yeah.
was close because I think your mum said to you that she thought you should have won as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you do need some negative feedback anyway. And it's always on that topic as well of feedback was always brilliant because I judged a few shows And for so many beginners as well, they'd ask me like, what feedback have I got for you? Everything is bad, as it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Like your posing's bad, so you need to get better at that. Your tan wasn't great, so you need to prepare your skin better. You need more muscle. You should probably be a bit leaner, but that's okay because you don't have the muscle. So there's a sort of a you can only look as good as the amount of muscle that you're carrying in terms of that muscle density and sort of I don't know granite look or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, for the most part, when you're a beginner, everything sucks
Yeah.
because you're a beginner. Like if you do anything, you're going to suck at it in all aspects. So you just need to keep going. And like that would always be my feedback is just keep doing what you're doing because you can't stop. Because if you do or try and worry about, oh, do you think my hamstrings are in proportion to my glutes? Well, at the minute, it's all small. So it's fine, but just keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, that is a strange one when you sort of sometimes ask for feedback in asking your friends and your family is the worst thing to do because they're just going to tell you because what they don't want from you is especially if you've been like real moany and whiny and negative for the last 12 weeks, all they want is for you to be back to normal and to be
Yeah.
happy. So they're going to give you all of that like kind of because they're purely selfish. Everybody does things for selfish reasons. So they're just going to be like, oh, I just want the original, you know, Sarah. I'm going to use your name, Sarah, but you weren't actually like this. But be like, I want the original Sarah back. So I'm just going to tell her I think she should have won because I think that's what she wants to hear.
Mm.
Because you don't want to go, actually, Sarah, you look shit. So get back in prep. Let's have Moni Sarah back again because her work's not done yet. Anyway, but
I do as well attribute managing of expectations to your guidance from the start. And genuinely, right, like let's not beat around the bush. You changed my life. You directed me. And yes, as the athlete, you're doing the do, right? And your coach is leading the way. I always say that it's the athlete doing it. However, you changed my life. Part of that was understanding managing expectations as a competitor, but also that transferring into the rest of my life. So the expectation, you never told me you're going to win a show. You never told me you should win a show. You told me to go and reveal my hard work, to then, of course, gain the feedback. And as we moved through, you would say, you're looking more competitive now, but we go and enjoy the day. That there was never stress put on me from you. It was enjoy the day. And consequently, it took till my fourth season, I win a show, win another show, and it's like even you when I first won the show, you were like, you fucking won a show. And then it was like this. And also I feel like that breeds that excitement and that celebration between you and the coach to be like, we've done it. We've won a show. And then where does that go? But there was always managing expectations from the start. I've just got to get you to the closest condition I can, Sarah, for you to step on stage. You don't have the muscle, but I also need to see if you can do a prep. That was our goal. Do a prep. I wanted to see if I could get a six pack and to see if I could actually step on stage. And as you say, everything's, posing, muscle, etc., is in a spot that needs to improve. But that's a clear message as well, because not only the expectations from potentially your coach or people around you, but what do you expect yourself? Because if you can go in and go, I'm gonna fucking light up the stage to the best of my ability, it hits different. That's the same as if you win, if you place, you stand there and you're like, I've fucking done it. I've done another prep here, and I feel really proud of myself.
yeah, so I now coach people, right, for competing in a different thing. But look, I'll tell you these my three rules, right? Number one is to be the best opponent you can be.
Mhm.
Okay? You want to turn up and be competitive. You need to know the rules and you need to have delivered on that to the best of your ability within time that was given to you. Number two, on the day, your one goal is to make a friend. And number three is to enjoy yourself.
Mm.
And I think you could insert any bodybuilding show there, any type of match you're into, and you should still live by that type of mantra if you want to be a competitor. Because a lot of my really, like I would say, close friends that I could catch up with at any time are people that I've competed with.
Mm,
I was on stage next to them, and we're battling it out to see who's going to get the better placing. Yet I still, catch up with them. I still wish them happy birthday
mm,
because we shared something that was very, very special, right? I've kept, I think I've kept three trophies, and the rest I've thrown away because it's not the trophies that meant anything to me. It's those memories with those friends or whatever else that I have is what I truly like, sort of relish really. And I hold those much, much dearer to me now, whether I don't even know where I came in some shows. I don't care.
mm,
At the time, I might have cared, but I don't now looking back.
mm,
I look back and I can see the pictures that I had taken on stage, and I think, yeah, I look good there. But yeah, actually, the year after, I looked even better. My version of what looks better, not anybody else's, but mine.
mm,
And that's the important thing is that, yes, we have these rules in sort of defined what you should look like in those classes or categories, right? Whether it's like lines or symmetry or size or ratios, there are those sort of golden proportions in which is why there's different classes, there's bikini, there's physique, there's wellness, there's all these different types now, right? For people with different builds, so
mm,
they can still compete at a level where it's fair within a sort of genetic makeup, right?
mm,
But at the end of the day, you got to love what you need to love how you look and you need to love the sculpture that you're putting in. So if you want to turn up with absolutely ridiculous arms because you really like enjoy, you like training arms and that's what you want to be known as is having great arms and go and do that because if that's what, keeps you competing, keeps you on the process, reveal the sculpture or that masterpiece that you want to reveal. But yeah, I think it's something in which I really hold, like I said, true now is a lot of those lessons bodybuilding taught me. I still use like in today, in the work that I do now and the people that I help. So
mm.
yes, it can be extremely powerful, I think, and yeah, I learned so much from those experiences. And I always keep questioning myself, oh, should I do it again? Should I get back on stage? Do I have one more show left in me? I don't
Heard
know.
it here first.
I don't know. I've thought about it. I really have.
What
Um,
I do love, what I love about you is the time I came to watch you compete, and I think you were like 3% body fat, maybe 3.5 or something. You'd done a DEXA like literally the day before, and
yeah.
that bred something in me, not only to never moan to you because you'd done it and you got to that point, but also that mad respect for okay, the walking and the talking, as you said earlier, walking the walk, talking the talk, and marrying that up. But also, people listening, as you said, you've competed for many years previously, but you've also taken it to that nth degree, and that in itself, I feel like, and you're talking about what you can take into the rest of your life. Pushing to that point, it's no joke.
Do,
But you, you know,
did I ever tell you my story? What happened at Fit Factor, the body power show?
I don't know.
I don't think I've told anyone this. I'll tell you. So, um, it was a sort of fitness model show ran by Body Power at the time, and Greg Plitt, if you remember him,
I don't know.
was one of the head judges.
Okay.
Greg Plitt was, maybe he's one of the most uh, photographed cover models of all time, and he unfortunately died in a train accident.
Oh.
So yeah, you have to look up Greg Plitt, and basically he was the person giving the awards away. And there was a judging panel. There was, like, I think, prize money or whatever, and it was a 2 day show in Birmingham. And I prepped for it. I did all my own posing because it meant to be fitness model, not like bodybuilding. So you didn't do traditional bodybuilding poses. They didn't. Explicitly said it needs to be commercial. That we could put you on the front of a cover, or you could get work in the fashion industry. And obviously, I was already doing that anyway, right? That was already how I was making my money, was as a sort of fitness fashion model. Um, and anyway, on the first day, I go out for dinner by myself. and I think I went. I won't name the restaurant because it might not be anything to do with that. But I wasn't eating. I just went. I think it was like a burger place or something, and a restaurant. Ate there, and in the night I stayed at my friend's house. Right, I met up with my friend and his friends, and I went to the bar. I was at the bar, and I wasn't drinking. I was feeling terrible. Right, so I went to the bathroom, and never ever had this experience myself. I just projectile vomited like around the toilet in this bar, and I felt awful because I was just really, really, really unwell, and I spent ages to clean the bathroom up to the best as I possibly could. Anyway, then I'm feeling really bad. I think I've sort of vomited so much now. My dinner's out, the whole week's preps food's out, it's all gone. And then I spend all night on the toilet, and now it's the other end, and I'm in a really bad way, right? I know that I've got to get on stage, and if you've ever been to the NEC arena, at Body Power, whatever, the toilets are miles away from the stage, and I was having to run from getting off stage to the toilet because otherwise I was going to soil myself, and it was not going to be good. And I was still on stage in my swim trunks, thinking, "Oh my God, I could have the worst accident ever." But there's no fucking way I'm giving up. So competed, carried on, and placed second. But I will be honest, that day I was truly holding some water. I was like, I was puffy. I just looked dreadful. I had no sleep. I was completely, utterly dehydrated from having like diarrhea, exploding vomiting. That was one of the worst ever experiences I've ever had. But yeah, at the end, came second, shook Greg Plitt's hand, who was a massive, massive inspiration to why I got into fitness modeling in the first place. So yeah, there was no way I was going to give up because of that. But I remember that, right? I might have come third. I don't know. I might have got the placing wrong, but I couldn't care. I think it was second. Um, but yeah, what a journey that was. Yeah.
We have these things that happen, and it's actually thrown me back to when I actually spoke about, when did I speak about this? Probably last week to a client about when personal circumstances arise in a prep. Now, every prep I've always had something happen, and that could be when I remember when I went over on my ankle, or various things from a medical standpoint, as it were, or a physical standpoint. And then of course when I decided to get divorced, and I told you, and I was 4 weeks out, and you were like, Sarah, this show is not a good idea, you're not going to bring your best physique, but I know you're probably not gonna give up on this. And that you reminded me of that, because you're like, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna give up. But I speak about this because you said to me, you're not gonna bring your best physique because this is one of the most, well, traumatic things you can go through. I had edema in my calves. We had to pull cardio, pull legs. There's no way I'm gonna bring my best to stage. And I
But
reference
that's
it a lot.
managing expectations, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I reference it because I have to have these conversations with clients, and also it's like, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up because of that type of example. I'm going to show him and all of this stuff, and it's like all you're doing is showing him that you're going to turn up and not bring your best. But you get to these points in prep, like day before, like you described, and it's like there's no way I'm not doing the show. I've done a whole prep here. But for sure, again, it is the managing of expectations. I think it's such a good example because you told me it's like you can't bring your best here, and I'm like, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep going. It's
Yeah. And I think when you lose that self entitlement, you have the right expectations going into a show, you can actually turn up and walk over to the person that plays first and shake their hand and congratulate them. And it won't be fake because it'll be truly genuine because you were accepting of your fate, knowing that you didn't deserve to win, but they do. And that's really important to understand that because you can look at them and go, well done. Whether the timing was right with them, maybe they weren't getting divorced or whatever, or maybe they didn't have a calf injury or whatever, but fair play to them. They deserved to win, so they did. And hopefully that's largely true for the most part. And I'm sure some people will be there thinking, oh, yeah, but I competed once and actually so and so was friends with the judge. Yeah, and yeah, that might happen. But I think if we just speak relatively speaking, that should probably be the case. But yeah, you do really need to lose that self entitlement. And I would have it with people where they would be so whiny that their tan was bad or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, well, did you prep your skin 2 weeks out? No. Okay, well, did you moisturize? No. Did you get to the tanning thing on time? No. Did you worry about cooling down so you didn't sweat it all off? No. So you've only got yourself to blame. And I think a lot of these instances that you find yourself in is for the most part, you only have yourself to blame.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. There's always another route that you could have probably taken that would have delivered different results. And yeah, I don't want to sound like I don't know, some bloody inspirational quote thing, but you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results. And it's so true. Like you do have to think about, okay, actually, Tam was shit. How do I improve on that? Okay, well, this time I did A, B, C, D. Well, next time I'm going to try A, D, F, whatever.
Mm.
Um, Change the way you do it. If you keep doing it, you're just going to end up with poor results. But yeah, no, I must admit, so I have thought about do I have another show left in me or not? I don't know, but it's also that I've got such a amount of respect and a appreciation for what goes into it, and a lot of the preps that I did them over a very, very long period of time, and I worked with, at the time, I think one of the last shows I did, I worked with Jeff from
Yeah.
3D Muscle Journey. What a
Dude.
legend!
Yeah.
And we prep for like 9 months
Love that.
because I had a 6 month prep into my first show. That was the British, and then that qualified me to the IFBB Diamond European Cup. And then there was 3 months. That was it. There was a 3 month gap now. Yeah. And then you had the classic. Then I did the Welsh for classic bodybuilding. Came second at the Welsh, and I then made the finals. So yeah, I had the Welsh, the Welsh, then the finals, then the IFBB Diamond Cup. But yeah, it was a 9 month prep, and at the minute, right, I can't believe this, Sarah, but I've actually tracked my fitness pal for 5 days straight now. I'm on a five streak, right?
You get
I
the
know.
notification.
Big, he's a big thing, Sarah. I even weighed out some food the other day. I know.
Well,
Um, but I know to do that, I have to do that for 6 to 9 months. And it's knowing realistically with the amount of work I do at the moment, how my like career's gone with content creation and social media and everything else, and the amount of contracts that are coming in. I just in traveling now as well, like the
mm,
sheer amount of travel I've got to do now. Like this year alone, I went to I was somewhere for New Year's for an actual holiday. I was in Amsterdam, and then I get back for 2 weeks, and I went to Vegas. I've been to Texas this year. I've been to Chicago this year. Um, I've got plans to go to Washington, D.C. next month. I've got to go to Indianapolis next month. I'm going to Spain. I've been to Hamburg. So it's like every single month I've got 1 to 2 international trips, right?
mm,
Big conventions, conferences where I'm filming social media for companies or whatever, and or presenting and things. So I know that they're super long days. What is what I'm trying to get at, and I just don't necessarily always have that time to find a decent gym. And I know it can sound like an excuse, but it is quite the reality when you're
mm.
jet lagged and you're waking up at 4 in the morning, but no gyms are open. I've even actually, the last time I went to Texas, there's this incredible gym I trained at. Me and my friend, we got there and it said 24 hours on their website. That's if you're a member, not if you want to buy a day pass. Their day pass only starts at 9. We had to be at the venue for 9. I was even at the gym. We got an Uber there and I was like, this sucks. Just
It,
literally can't even get in the gym. And then had to get back to the conference. But um, it is difficult to travel and then obviously getting your same level of preparation in, or the amount of food that I prepare from home is nowhere near what it used to be because I'm just here, there and everywhere. And you've got to factor that in. You can't be deluded to think that you can do it,
Yeah, for
even if
sure.
you've got the best genetics or whatever, right? You can't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I often, when I have a consultation with someone that's probably similar to when I had my consultation with you, that's got the idea of becoming a bodybuilder, or maybe is a gym bunny, does bits and bobs and has done some weight training, etc. And the idea is I'd like to do a prep. And it's like you don't want to frame this as like a really negative pursuit or you can't do it. But when it's someone that does have a 9 to 5 job and maybe they've got commitments outside of that, various other things, and they're just about managing to do the gym regularly, most of their food is prepped, etc. And I take it upon myself because I'm not driven by money, as you know. It's very much if I can help people, I will. So I give them that example of what the towards the end might look like. Okay, so this is what's required from a time perspective, and I love that you've
Yeah.
mentioned it because again, it's not. I'm probably about the most positive person about bodybuilding in the world, I would say. However,
You used to take a week off, Sarah, didn't you?
yeah, yeah,
Where's your
it's
holiday?
yeah, but because it's realistic, it is
Mm,
realistic. And I don't want to take someone's money and sign them up and they get partway through and I know what their lifestyle commitments are. I know what they're going to need to do in a prep and they're defeated. They have to, in their mind, they're going to have to give up. Now, as
yeah.
a coach, is that a nice thing to facilitate? No, it's not. Now, absolutely, we can say if you can change things, if you can make things, move it around nearer the show or what have you, let's work on that. We can absolutely make this work within your lifestyle, but I have to be honest. And as you described there, you've got to be honest with yourself because what do you want to present on stage? When you can, let's not forget, you can bodybuild to have a nice physique, walk round and be happy. You don't have
Yeah.
to compete, guys. Like anyone listening, you do not have to compete to validate your existence as a bodybuilder.
No. You also have to be completely accepting of other people's opinions.
For sure.
And the amount of you and I'm gonna speak this isn't going to apply to everybody, okay? If you're an extremely high level competitor talking to this show, your experience is going to be somewhat different to some of the things I've spoken about, right? The game does change as you get better at anything. You become in that like elite level class where you probably could go to a show thinking, actually, I've got a good chance of winning this, right? Because you're a 10-year veteran, you've done this week in, week out. This is your fourth prep this year. You're in peak condition, you don't have any injuries. And yeah, by all means, go to that show with some elements of confidence, right? But I'm talking to those people that were like you, Sarah, in
Mm,
the very beginning days. So many people get on stage and they realize that they didn't like it because other people were judging them.
mm, mm.
Well, that's what you're signing up for. You have to be really, really self. And this is the irony. The amount of insecure people that do bodybuilding is ridiculous
I know.
because you actually have to be, in order to take on criticism and negative feedback and actually progress and be a long standing competitor, you need to be extremely self-confident
Mm,
to
mm,
go, hey, I'm happy with how I am, but I'll take your feedback in order for me to tick these boxes in order to increase my ability, right?
mm, mm,
It's a bit like art, in what I do now with these nerdy little models, right? There's painting competitions and there is a painting rubrics where or rubric where you've got to be like, right, you got, can you tick all these boxes on the miniature? Have you displayed all these different types of techniques on the model that you've painted to show that you're a real craftsman or craftsperson with the brush, color, everything else, right?
mm.
It's exactly the same. You could still do something that you're really proud of, even if it looked like shit, you
Yeah.
know? Some of my friends say to me, Steve, look at this model I painted. And I'm thinking, that looks bloody awful, but well done because you're proud of it. Does it tick these boxes? Absolutely not. But well done. You tried and you'll get better. And one day you'll learn to tick those boxes. And bodybuilding's the same. You just got to tick these boxes. And the judges are going to help you, tell them or tell you how to tick them. But you might not be at a place where you're anywhere near it, but you should still be accepting of the fact and happy with how you look
Mm.
because otherwise, what's the point? Like, you're chasing something that's only ever going to bring you upset in, but yeah, the that was what I've really found super funny was people that couldn't take other people's criticism and judgment when that's what you're signing up for. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm the same. You've almost got to get off on it, right? So you get, like you say, you get this list, and it's like, okay, that's my off season. Like,
Mm,
so there's elements for sure. The post-show dump and off the back of competing, fucking hell, hungry, fatigued. The hunger stays for quite some time, etc., etc. The list goes on. The physiological adaptations we go through are a thing. However, if I can, and this is what I try and facilitate in my clients that compete, when we get that feedback, whatever you might win, right, but you can still get better. So whatever we need to do, that's okay. This is off season. This is what it looks like. Yes, have a bit of time, do what you need to do, etc. However, we've got our plan. We know what we need to do if
yeah.
you want to pursue this sport. Let's get off on it. And
You,
it's a night and day difference.
you said something there, so that I really resonate with actually, is you might have won the show, but I couldn't give a shit because you still got more work to do if you want to like because when you've worked with somebody, you know what their end goal is, you know what their dream is, you know what their masterpiece somewhat looks like because they've explained it to you. So you could win a show, but you're not there yet. You're still on this pursuit of improving, and bodybuilding is a constant pursuit.
Yeah.
Um, and it actually one of the worst things. Well, I've had a lot of bad things happen to me actually, but in terms of what really one of the nails in the coffin for me actually for bodybuilding was actually when I won a show.
Mm.
The big one that I won at the end, the IFBB one. Um, the judges came over to me and they were like, "Why didn't you go to Arnold's?" And I was like, "Oh well, you didn't invite me." And they were like, "Oh, that's a shame because you would have won it." Great, you're telling me this before I'm about to step on stage. You've literally already told me I'm about to win this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's the
Yes, I
so
love
like
this.
where's the fight for me on stage now?
Yeah, yeah.
That's no good.
Mm.
I want a bit of. I'm not doing this just to be. I don't know. Um,
I know what you.
awarded a trophy. So
Yeah.
then after that, I was a bit like, well, then there was a lot of other things that happened around a similar sort of time, which sort of meant for a bit of a time I kind of got a bit not resentful maybe, but just sort of was a bit burnt out. I would say from the industry specifically and the people inside it, and obviously that's kind of where I am led me to the path I'm on now, which is you know amazing, quite frankly. So there's always a silver lining to be found, but yeah, sometimes I do think, oh, maybe I got one show left in me, maybe. I'm 37 next month. Well, no, we're in July now, aren't we? So this month, in a couple of weeks, and I think, oh, maybe I could before I'm 40, perhaps. But because I've been trying super hard since January, and to get back in like decent shape again. And then I was in a car accident, a really bad one, in May,
Oh shit.
and yeah, but I've actually been in two really bad car accidents in the space of 14 months. Neither of them, I'll say, were my fault. And but anyway, it goes to show that um, life is not something you should take for granted, right? So recently I've been extremely focused. I'm taking my omega 3s every day, even though I hate taking them. I hate drinking protein shakes, but I've brought some ready meal, like ready-made ones. And some of those habits, which I was doing when I was much younger, like without even thinking about it, you know, they were easy because also this is where like credit to the bros out there, okay? You guys do the hard shit all the time. When you get used to that, somewhat you can become too flexible and too evidence based, where you become so lackadaisical. Can I? You, I'm allowed to swear, aren't I? You
Yeah.
end up you train like a pussy. Your diet is absolutely shocking, yet you're expecting big results because you followed an evidence-based plan. Meanwhile, you're there slagging off people that do German volume training or supersets or drop sets and all the other stuff, but they love it.
Yeah,
And they're in there all the time. They're trying to overtrain. They don't worry about training their lateral raises to a, I don't know, like reps to failure of, oh, make sure I've got three left so I don't burn out my CNS on my lateral raises. No, I'm doing pre-exhaustion sets. I'm doing triple drop sets. I'm doing it all because I love it and I love seeing my shoulders grow, right? And yeah, you might pick up some injuries along the way, but what athletes don't? The best athletes in the world get injured because they're always pushing the boundaries of what their body is capable of, and prep is no different. If you want to be average, do average things. But if you really want to progress, you have to go and push yourself beyond what you think is you're even capable of, because your brain will tell you no before your body gives up. But my God, it used to wind me up a treat hearing people like give the bros a hard time. And I'm like, these people work hard
yeah,
and they work much harder than you. And given the right guidance, will achieve so much more than you could ever, because they actually have the discipline and the desire to achieve those things that you could only dream of
yeah, yeah.
because you don't have what it takes.
For sure, for sure. You know, it's the classic. I'll do whatever it takes. And 2 weeks into the prep, oh God, I don't really want to do this. Right, okay. So
Mm.
2 weeks ago, we sat on a call, and you said I'll do whatever it takes. And this is again, it's like I want to say bugbear, and people know my thoughts. You know, if they listen to the pod, whatever it takes in
The pod.
actuality, yeah, the pod, in actuality whatever it takes. You know, I've been to some serious places in preps, you know, serious places. And you won't catch me moaning. You won't
Yeah,
you know, I often say if Stephen had said to me, stand on the spot, jump up and down on one leg for 3 hours, I'd say, should I do 4 hours? Like, and that's not me saying I'm better than anyone else or, you know, my ego, etc. But this pursuit of the stage, the off season, all of it is literally running through my veins. So when I say I will do whatever it takes, I mean it. But we're often in this society of words, not marrying up with actions. And you know how far I would take things. And if anything, you had to pull me back, right, rather than push me forward. But it resonates so much because now the bodybuilders I follow, the people I have on the podcast, you have got the old school. You've got Stan Efferding, Scott Stevenson, Wendy, my best
oh,
friend, you know, all of these.
bear in mind, I love Scott.
On
He is great.
he's my best friend. He's a fucking legend. Like we're voice noting all the time about dog crap training, about all of this stuff, and it's like it's
That's wicked.
bodybuilding. It's bodybuilding,
Yeah.
right? And yeah,
Me, I remember me and him did we were on a panel, I think, at Body Power.
you've met him in real life.
Yeah, we were on a panel together we were both on the same speaking panel, me and him. And it was brilliant because I think I'm pretty sure I had him on my podcast in
He's
the early days.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
has been to, but he's referenced body power to me before.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're on the same stage for that at one point. And yeah, I can remember like a lot of our sort of opinions were very similar. You know, have an appreciation for what science can, do for us, but also let's not forget the sheer hard work that it's going to take, right? But and again, this is where like now I'm thinking I don't know if I have what it takes to push my business to the point of where it's never been before, right? Like my new competitive arena is my business.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know if I can have those two pursuits alongside each other, because I also know that if I was to pursue bodybuilding again, to step on stage as much as I would like to and get back in that little thong of mine, and my God, I'd rock it. But I know, does the does or am I willing for it to have a knock-on effect on my business? Right? That's that's a risk you take
Yeah.
when you do a pursuit like this. You need to think about it very carefully. And like you said, you don't have to just step on stage. So I'm going on holiday next week. I've kind of used that as a bit of a goal. And then after that, I can reassess. I might do a photo shoot because I'm probably, maybe 6 weeks out from being back in like cover model shape again.
Mm.
Um, and that was a condition that I kept all year round. And this was the other funny thing that I found when I came into the industry. And bear in mind, I didn't have the most amount of muscle. By all means, I've always been one of the smaller people on stage, but my proportions, my symmetry, my posing, my conditioning was the other elements that, those tick boxes I, ticked pretty well. But muscle was the one that I lacked probably. But I was always in cover model shape. And when they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to water deplete for a photo shoot," and I'm like, you don't get that luxury when you're actually a fitness model, because your agent will call you and be like, "Steve, can you go to London tomorrow?" And you're like, "Sure, what time?" "Oh, can you be there for 2 o'clock? You've got a casting with, I don't know, Asics or someone." You're like, "Yeah, I'll be there at 2. Next day it'd be, "Oh, can you be in London for, 10 a.m. for a commercial with links or whatever?" And you're like, "Yeah, you're cool, you're there." So you don't have the luxury of, "Oh, I better carb up for this one, or better water deplete." You can't. You just got to look good the whole time. So your
Yeah.
diet has to be extremely regimented. And some people used to call me like the robot because I just did it without moaning and all those things now that I used to do with ease, but it was as well my job to do that. And I've got a much better appreciation for that now, where I don't get the luxury to sit and eat a meal.
Hmm.
I'm eating on the go, or I'm eating in my car, or I have to remind myself sometimes, "Hey, Steve, you can actually take a break for 30 minutes, enjoy your food," or actually you can go home and cook a meal, and that time cooking is still useful for you. And even in my diary now, I put like 3 points that I try to do, like, can I go to the gym today? Can I track my food? Can I drink 3 liters of water? Like the basic stuff. But
Yeah.
I used to do all those without even thinking, but now it's actually like I have to be cognitive
Yeah.
of that. And depending on where you are in your journey as well, when you become like when you're a beginner at something, you can probably handle doing 3 things consistently.
Hmm. Hmm.
When you're a little bit more intermediate, you can probably handle 6. And when you're an elite level, you can probably handle 9, 12, or if not many habits stacked together. And this is really where you get a compounding amount of effects, because each of those building blocks build upon the other. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't out train a bad diet," or, which is more important. It's all fucking important.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just not do one of those things. It's all important. So I think as well, it's being extremely appreciative of who you are, where you're at, your lifestyle, your environment, the relationships you have, what you're willing to give up,
Mm.
and then go, "Okay, I think I can do this. Let's try and get on stage." And that should be, I'd be so, Sarah, I'd be made up if I stood back on stage again. I'd be genuinely made up. I might not look as good as I did before. I don't know. I've got a few more wrinkles now, that's for sure. A couple more grey hairs. Um, Probably mostly caused from before. But I'd love that. I'd love to get back on stage. It'd be such a cool achievement. I wouldn't care where I placed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't be like I said, I've got the trophies. Half of them in the bin, mostly because they were made of plastic and a bit cheap. But the other part is, that would be such a great feeling to go through that process again. But I just don't know I'm willing to risk it. So yeah, can go on my holiday, might come back, might do a photo shoot if I still feel like I've got the momentum, and some holidays and stuff don't set you back, because it can be so easy, right?
Yeah, and what you've outlined as well is, that those fundamentals of bodybuilding, I bash on about it all the time, as you can imagine. They're still in there, they're still in the subconscious, and what you've described, it's almost like you're going through this process of rewiring those motor neuron pathways to go, okay, so that will then you'll get to a point where the gym is just however many times a week, and that's your normal again, if that's the desired outcome. And you start to formulate, and as you say, that compounding effect. I believe that transfers into competing in general, of how many preps you do, how many off seasons you do, how many post shows you do, the compounding effect of getting a progressed physique, but also a progressed mindset in what this journey entails and if it's the right path for you. Because a lot of people aren't going to peak till 5, 6, 7, 8 years in of multiple cycles of this if they can grin and bear it for that long, and that's the compounding effect of not only the work ethic, but everything you've outlined there to what attributes to bodybuilding. And again, that can get lost. But if you can see this as, and Paul Standell came on the pod actually, and he said, when I start with someone, I always say to them, your best physique is going to be in 10 years time. He said 10 years is a good time frame for people, and he said, I'm saying to people, you want to look your best in 10 years. And they're like, what? 10 fucking years? And he's like, that's, the multiple phases that you go through, the habits that you build. And he said, if most people could listen to this and give themselves 10 years, they'd be setting themselves up for success.
Yeah, it's a long game, but then straight away, can you imagine get on that coaching call? If I'd have said that to you, Sarah, in the beginning, right, Sarah? I mean, I can't remember what I charged back then, Sarah, and it probably fluctuated over time. But anyway, let's just say it was 100 quid a month, right, just for easy numbers. And you're like, 10 years? You want 100 quid out a month for me for 10 years? Oh, I've seen you coming. Terry, he says he can do me a diet plan, get me winning shows in 12 weeks. I'll go with him, I think, for 3 months or whatever, uh, on his special because he was only looking for 5 people and those spots were running out fast. So get in touch before they go because if I'm not one of those 5, and weirdly it's at 5 every
I know.
other week. Anyway,
Always
so
fine.
yeah.
Always fine. I
There's never 2. By the way, guys, I've got 2 spots left for coaching. No, it's always 5.
I
Yeah.
always say that when I started with you, you were my utility bill that I was prepared to pay forever. Because you get that. I actually recently described it on a podcast where I was like, because I applied and it was Ben Kuma's company, wasn't it? Who you were part
Yeah,
of.
originally, yeah.
Yeah, and then you get put into a coach as it were, and you got designated me, and we obviously had our consult, and
I
I
know.
back a bit, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, and that the chocolate example, I have to tell the listeners here. So I said to Stephen on the console, I haven't eaten chocolate for I think it was 6 or 8 weeks. I can do this. I know I can. I don't want it. And you were like, what do you mean you
Why?
haven't eaten chocolate? Yeah. Why? And I was like, because I don't need it. And you were like,
You do?
okay, what do you mean? And I was like, nope, I don't need it. As you say, I was very much bro mode. But from that moment, and the message here from that moment, I will pay the money because I'd seen, I want to work with you. I want this so much, and it meant so much to me, and it always will. But from that word go, it was just like I will find a way. If I need to remortgage my house to pay for Stephen, I fucking will.
Yeah.
I'll always remember. I give this example.
God, I should have put my prices up more, shouldn't I? Should have made a mint out of you.
Do you remember? I'm sure you do. When I first sent, like, I think it was probably like a month's worth of my spreadsheet. So for anyone that doesn't do it on Google spreadsheets, so Stephen would get me to put in what protein I hit per day, what carbs, what fat, what fiber, based on the targets you'd set me, what training I'd done, how I'm feeling, da 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 da. So my spreadsheet was exact. So protein, 170 or whatever it was, every single.
Oh, Sarah, let me tell this story because I know what you're about to say. Your spreadsheet looked like somebody that hadn't been bothered to actually track their food. And what they had done is just copied and paste the exact numbers in every day. And you can always tell when someone's bullshitting you because it literally says every single day they had 150 grams of protein or whatever. There's no deviation whatsoever. And I looked at your spreadsheet and I was like, Sarah, is there anything you want to tell me? And you were like, no, I've tracked all my macros accurately. And I was like, but you've hit them, Sarah, bang on every day. You're like, yeah, because what I was doing is I was getting like a teaspoon and I was dropping on olive oil just to make sure I could hit the grams of fat. And I was like, oh my God, wow, this is new. So you help me teach other people that a tolerance. So now I give people a tolerance. I'm like, as long as you're between here and here, you're fine. 10 grams either side or whatever. And we used averages and things. But my God, I remember that. So now you've said it. That's what you were going to say, right?
Yeah, I've got a client that listens to the
That was eight
podcast.
years ago, and you're saying that. Well,
Yeah,
no, no, it
well,
must
it
be
would have
longer than
been
that because,
12 years ago or so.
geez, yeah, wow.
my client D that listens, I also reference there was a time where I said to you, I've chopped my green bean like I would chop a green bean in half to make it the exact measurement. And that's
Get
the
those, get that fiber in. Can't be more than 25 grams. Whew.
the thing is, this is the level I'm talking about with me, obviously on reflection, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, like you said, there's an allowance. However, again, it helps me talk about this because it's a thing. It is a thing, the crossover of food disorders and bodybuilding, you touched on it earlier. It's so intrinsically linked. So I can
S-
spot these signs myself as a coach.
Sarah, you had um a real like thirst to learn, I think. And that was the you didn't want to do anything wrong. And that was why you did it. You just wanted to make sure you ticked all the boxes, you crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and you just did it to a degree in which, and actually that was my fault as a coach. I should have set you from day one. Sarah, this is your range of macros that you can hit. You don't need to hit them specifically. So I learned a very valuable lesson as well, that I'd set you actually up for failure. In truly you are and easily are my greatest achievement ever when it comes to my coaching, in not just the what you achieved at the time, but actually what you've gone on to achieve. I'm immensely proud of that. And you helped me through all those hours and hours on the phone and all those questions and everything else. You helped me evolve to be the best coach I possibly could be. And I really was so, I think, towards the end, so engrossed in helping my clients achieve what they possibly could and be the best coach I possibly could be. I never really spoke about it. I was more focused on, you know, actually serving the clients that I had, restricting the amount of clients I had because I didn't want to take on too many so I could do a good service and ensure that client satisfaction was above all else, above, social media followers and likes and all the other, things that people post on social media in order to give themselves some level of gratification. Mine was from you guys, the people that was coaching, whether they just wanted to look better for, their holiday or they had a holiday where they had to get ready for a Hollyoaks shoot, right?
Mm.
Whoever it was I was working with, they all had their goals. Yeah, whether it was athletes, actors, models, mums, dads, single people, it didn't matter. And that was all that mattered to me. And I think as a coach, that's all you should care about, providing that you have enough. And obviously now with what I do, is very much focused on helping people find their people, and I wish I could go back and tell myself a lot more about that. But I do feel like actually at the time when I created the company Teambox in the brand, I was very much, I knew who I wanted to help. And I always stuck true to those beliefs. Even when maybe other people didn't, I still did. And yeah, and I'm really, really proud of that because I met some incredible people, like yourself and like so many other of my clients that I know that if I called them, they would pick up the phone and we'd better get on and probably have a catch up, like, because you become such an integral part of their life, right, as a coach. And I think that was really the the service I wanted to give was I did coaching calls.
Mm.
Everybody didn't, so many coaches didn't want to do coaching calls. They
Mm.
wanted to do a written update or a voice message or a video update. And I get the video updates if you're working with somebody abroad. I do understand that because of time differences. But no, you can't get the true essence of how somebody's feeling through a video update. Because imagine, Sarah, you're giving me an update on you know, on a video. You're going to be like, in your head, I got to tell Steve what my weight is, if I feel like I'm looking leaner, and you're going to just reel off this stuff, okay, of how it all sounded great. But your coach is there to go, oh, you hesitated a bit there, Sarah. Are you sure everything's all right? Or just looking over your log, Sarah, why was Wednesday morning your weight up? get a good night's sleep.
Mhm, mhm.
Actually, me and my partner had a bit of a row and had a bit of a late night. How you doing? How's your eating been? Well, yeah, I kind of skipped breakfast. You actually then can help people because you can get into in understanding where they're going wrong and ultimately being the best coach you possibly can be. And I think it's such an integral part, and which is why, I did have to limit how many people I worked with, and that I wouldn't work with any more than a set number, although I could have. And it was actually why I created the company in the first place, was because I was at a point where I had too many people trying to work with me compared to, you know, how many people I could actually help. So I thought, yeah, let's take on other people, let's help them grow, succeed, and have some of those clients basically. Um, yeah, but there we go. That's something I think you should always be really mindful of is if you are looking to work with a coach, find out about the ways that they work, ask them the questions. Because, you might contact Sarah for coaching and you might be like, no, she sounds way too crazy for me. Or Sarah's like, really sorry, I'm super full at the minute because I'm a superstar. She wouldn't say that, she's too humble, but I will. And you might try and find another coach, but ask them those questions like, okay, when do you think I could place in a show? See what they say.
Mhm, mhm.
You know you're not going to win a show. Just ask them, see what they say, and then you know if they're actually bullshitting you or not. Or if they say to you, actually, it could take you 10 years to get to where you want to be. You're like, all right, yeah, could sounds probably about right then. Find out those types of things. How do you coach? What's your sort of philosophy on coaching calls? If I need to speak to you and they're like, no, no, sorry, just do this. You're like, well, actually, probably video updates work for, and I would say a very small percentage of people that bodybuilding is their life and they probably are not a parent. They probably have a job in which they might have mentally been checked out of, or they're able to coast on where it, and that's okay. I'm not judging there because obviously they've got a passion outside, which is fine that they're really trying to pursue, which is the bodybuilding. And sometimes, God, I wish like I've already told you, I can't do the two together. Yeah. If I had a job where I was a bit checked out from it, just working, that would probably marry up a little bit better with, trying to do bodybuilding, right? Because you can have more time to you to be selfish, where you can put your effort, energy, and focus into it. Take your breaks at those dedicated times. Maximize those 30-minute lunch breaks because you get paid for them or not paid for them. I don't know what you get, but whatever. Um, you can start working it in and around your lifestyle. But if you feel like actually I'm going to need some support, make sure they offer you actual coaching calls, or like what you do, Sarah, that I've seen you do your meetups and your workshops and stuff, because that's bonding. That's a time for you to, like, Sarah, how many of my clients are you really good friends with?
Yeah, and I still speak to some of the team box people. Like it will
Yeah.
be Helen. Do you remember Helen?
Hmm.
Someone like her that, we're literally could be or Faith, people like that could be a year or 2 years, you
And you
know.
weren't even coached. They weren't even coached by me. They were coached by Chris.
Yeah, yeah. So it's people like that that I met at a team box meet, and then you formulate these really good friendships. And it was often, something that drove me forward to do these types of things. But also what you described from what you offered as a coach. Again, my clients that listen are going to go, oh, okay, this is why Sarah coaches how she does. As I touched on earlier, yes, I need money to survive. I need to pay my bills, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm not motivated to have a fuck ton of clients because and you'll relate to this, right? I'm not just saying this, and I've mentioned it before, and I think are people thinking I just say this. I can't offer the level of coaching I offer and speak to my clients on the volume that I do and I choose to if I have over my cap of coaching client. I can't do it because I would not have a life outside of this.
Sarah, can you imagine, like, if all my books were like you?
This is the thing,
Be mad, wouldn't it?
yeah,
All
and
those, and you do get clients that are, um,
you talk more.
you know, you get clients that talk. You get clients that just want to keep it short and sweet. And I've got a coach now. Actually, they help me a bit with my nutrition and stuff. And literally my updates, I always said, look, I just need help with X and Y. And actually, a lot of my updates are, I've done really shit at this. I've done shit at that. I need to improve on that. I'm going to focus on this week. And their reply is, cool, go ahead. Or they'll give me some, context between, and they do actually give me some really fantastic advice as well. But equally, I know the service I signed up for is what I need, and that's okay. Also, with what you're prepared to pay. So as a coach, like, and it's true, like you can either have something fast,
Yeah.
you can have it good, or you can have it cheap, but you can't have all three. You can get two of the three, but you can't have all three. So if you want great results, because there's no fast results in bodybuilding, but if you want great results, it's not going to be cheap, you know. So again, it's yeah, one of those things that you just have to be really mindful of. Like now, if I wanted to coach somebody, I'd want to deliver a certain amount of service to them, but equally that level of service that you give, and like when I was helping you go through like your divorce and things, you have to spend some time as a coach to also decompress from that, because I'm taking on all of your emotions, and I need to also um, process. And quite honestly, I was probably out of my depth even to try and help you, because I think I was always clear, like, I can only tell you from my experience what I would do, but you have to emotionally take all that on, and you have to decompress from it before your next call, because otherwise what happens if you're doing calls one after the other, then the first person that you had a call with got 100% of you, but the person at the end got 10%, because you get drained over the course of the day. And I saw this with coaches, and it really infuriated me, because I was like, the standard of coaching should be here. Because if somebody, and I don't care whether they worked with me, for me, or for themselves, if you don't deliver, especially at the very beginning of online coaching, and I was one of the first online coach, and the amount of like sort of shit I got for it was crazy. But if we all don't deliver great results, then we let all the people, all the naysayers win, because you're letting the side down. You're actually making this something in which is a service now that's being slagged off because you've done a shit job. Like I had coaching plans sent to me, and it was funny enough, a food diary. It's a food plan. And I won't name the coach because it'd be unprofessional of me to do that. But I've got the same plan, word for word, gram for gram, 3 times from 3 different clients. And they've got gender differences, they've got eating preference differences, and they've got weight differences. They've got lifestyle differences, obviously. One of them had a nut allergy, and there was nuts in their plan.
Yep, yep, yep. The horror stories that we come
And
across.
this infuriates me, because what that does is, especially in the early days, what it does completely is you're ruining the reputation of online coaching, because I'm going to get branded with this same brush you've given because you're an idiot. So yeah, so it was real super painful in the beginning days, I tell you. But yeah, it is a case of now, like if I wanted to give somebody that level of service, and what I would have to charge in order to justify that time away from my current business of, like now I coach people with their social media and their marketing strategy, which allows them to, really propel their business to massive, massive ways. I've got to charge in a way that um,
Effective.
is effective, right? It has to be effective. I can't charge a small amount for that, and I also can't charge too much, but it has to be just right. But then equally, if my then time is split to do other things, you
Mhm.
still have to, your time gets to a certain point, but you can only also charge as well, given the value that you can actually give back to somebody, right?
Mm,
So what you could charge, like in hindsight, Sarah, I probably could have charged you more
mm,
than I
mm,
did, because of the value that you got out of that, right? But when somebody comes to you for the first time, you'll get those clients that they want to sign up in their head because they think it's what they want to do, but actually they don't. And they don't check in. They give you every excuse under the sun. And, you know, if anything, their update is non-existent because they didn't bother updating you. And you're like, okay, well, that was a 30-minute or an hour call that and now don't have to do because they didn't do their update. And then you get to a point and you go, look, you're not into this, let's just cancel. And I don't know many coaches that actually, I tell my clients, you need to cancel coaching because I feel bad for taking your money and
Yes.
I get nothing out of this. I get no testimonial, I get no sense of value. None of the boxes, aside from the money,
Mm.
are being ticked for me. And if you're not money orientated, then it's no good to you whatsoever. So, um, yeah, I think if you are looking to get a coach, make sure you really do ask them those questions.
Mm.
Like, if I don't check in, what happens?
Yeah, for sure. I
Find
often
out.
I often think with when I do speak with people and when I hear of the things, some of the examples you've given there, you can imagine being in this position of influence, as it were, with the pod, etc. The stories I do hear, and it's truly heartbreaking, and it's a beat in my heart, and why I keep flying the flag of the Beyond Condition podcast. But I often think if the right people, because of course from a coaching standpoint you've got to catch that vibe with the client as well. You don't want
Hmm.
to have people checking in that aren't gelling with you as a coach as well. I know that coaches won't turn people down because it's a money thing or whatever. I believe if you're a coach listening, you need to understand the people you want to coach as well. But I often think if I could get certain people I come across to be coached by me for even a couple of months, that they go, shit, this is coaching. But it's that, as you touched on earlier, with me being humble, I'm not someone that throws it down people's throats. I'm not someone that goes, sign up with me, I'll get you this and I'll do this and I'll do. It's 5 spaces left. There's an offer this month. I don't do any of that. So I'm in a position where I'm happy with the coaching clients I have, but I often do think I wish I could show you what coaching is, if you see what I mean, to people that have had a bad experience.
Yeah, or just want to know. I think you get a true sense of value from it that you didn't know you were going to get, but you do have to give it a try.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Mm.
Because a lot of people like money isn't easy to come by these days, and you got to work super hard for it. But I think you also have to what you put in is what you are going to get out of that. So if you do, if bodybuilding is the thing you enjoy, don't be afraid of spending some money on it. And the best thing that you could invest in is a fantastic coach, somebody that you can actually moan to and it not affect your relationships around you. You're basically hiring a coach so you can get off your chest how, fatigued and tired you feel and how hungry you are. Without that affecting all the rest of your life, as I sort of mentioned earlier. It's such a horrible thing to do to the people around you because you will need to get this off your chest if that's how you feel. But yeah, having a coach there to mentally support you through that process and making sure that the person that on the other side of the screen or phone is and truly has your best interest at heart. And there's a lot of frauds out there that just want the money. They see it as a get rich quick scheme, and you see them jump from one thing to another on the latest trend of trying to make money. Like for one time, there was more coaches than there was actual clients that needed to be coached. It was crazy. Yet none of them actually had any real experience in coaching. But it's just another sort of quick rich scheme, and unfortunately, it's very easy to get that across in the world of social media in how things can be kind of manipulated. But yeah, Sarah, I know that I would trust you to coach me, and other people should as well. But yeah,
Would
give it a
you
try.
with your, you mentioned earlier about where you've built this current business and you essentially got to almost a burnout with the industry and bodybuilding itself. Would you talk a bit about, I feel like it would be very inspirational and I'd like to hear a bit more about it. I know obviously, some of it, but a bit more about essentially rebuilding your life, because I don't know how much you'd want to talk about that, but how you had to pretty much go to rock bottom to then build up, because it's something, I get guests on to talk about just that for a whole episode if they've experienced something like you did. I don't know if you'd talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so yeah, I was quite a big topic, I suppose.
Yeah. 'Cause, yeah.
The So when, And I will say this now, it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. But I think I ended up in about £30,000 worth of debt.
Mhm.
The biggest reason why was that I was trying to develop an app, and I paid for all the filming to happen. I paid for all the editing, the app development. There was so much involved in that. And I just felt some of the people around me were going down a route that I didn't agree with at the time. And each to their own, they do what they want. But for me, it was when you're set on a very clear amount of like core philosophies, to have empathy for others, to genuinely want to help people and build them up, not break them down, was kind of our ethos, really. The true aspect of it, not getting in great shape and everything else. Yeah, that's just like a byproduct. But I felt like that was being really disrupted, and it caused a lot of conflict as well. So, like one of my best friends, Chris, he is one of the best coaches I've ever seen, and he is one of the most underrated coaches
Sure.
of all time, I'd probably say, in that space, because he has so much knowledge about training, about nutrition, true empathy for really helping. Like some of the people you mentioned there are, you know, yeah, just have done an incredible job under his sort of guidance, basically. Um, and yeah, for me, he really stood out as somebody that just wanted to help others, but not be in the limelight,
Yeah.
and really just chose to do the job that he was being paid to do, basically. And that's so important. So, anyway, long story short, the company went in different ways because um, it just got fractured by people's beliefs and where it should go. And also, a lot of the negativity that I was getting, I wasn't happy with. And I think you get to a point you're like, it's just not worth it anymore. So, anyway, there was a I broke up with a person, or we broke up, whatever, and I moved back home because they didn't have anywhere else to go, and we still had like 3 months rent left or something it was. So I was like, well, we got to pay out the rent. I'll just move back home, so it's an easier living environment for people. So I did that. Didn't have any money because all the money was in the app. And basically, what I stupidly did at the time was put my tax savings into building the app, thinking it was okay because by the time the app's developed and brought out, the revenue would be back so I could pay the tax bill. That didn't happen. And I stupidly as well didn't get the paperwork in place to protect myself. And also didn't want to bring out an app with people in it that I had no business wanting to be in it anymore. So I was like, I just canned it basically. Lost all the money. But it was I constantly got criticism that I didn't know what I was doing, that I should let others do the marketing or whatever. And it was quite funny, really, because then I set up a YouTube channel in an area of something completely different, in a yeah, in toy soldiers, which I used to get laughed at for doing. And I ended up getting more followers in a month than other people had in a year.
Mm. Mm.
And it just sort of went off like a rocket ship. And I got up at 6 a.m. every day, and I worked from 6 until 9 in a Starbucks, just on this little hobby business of mine. Built a little website, built some PDF guides, and started making some videos. And I was living at home, and I still do now. Actually, still live at my parents' house. They moved, but I'm rarely there, and it's actually given me the chance to build this business I've got now. So I'm immensely grateful for their support and help throughout this whole time. Um, I'm with somebody now that is incredibly supportive. She's absolutely incredible. And I couldn't be happier. So there's so many amazing things that have happened because of it. But yeah, when lockdown hit, that was really when I think my business, my personal coaching, I just kind of stopped it because a lot of my clients' work dried up. Like I was working with Hollyoaks actors, they weren't sure what their job was going to look like because they couldn't go to, obviously they couldn't go to work. I was working with bodybuilders. They, or most of them were personal trainers. A lot of them were self-employed. And at the beginning, we didn't get that support of, hey, look, if you're self-employed, you're going to get those bounce back jobs or whatever.
Mm.
So I lost a lot of clients and I just went live every day on my YouTube channel to talk to the people that I thought I'd do it for a month, and went live at 5 o'clock every day in lockdown. And anyway, I started getting these stories of people who were in that community. They were like, Steve, I really appreciate your lives because I'm an alcoholic and I've been really struggling. And it's the one thing I look forward to is this 5 o'clock show. And, whether I was sick, I was ill, it didn't matter. Whether I was like been out for a run and to run back and it was like 4:59, I was like, I got a minute to get online. And anyway, I went live every day for 100 days. And then like lockdown started to get a bit more relaxed and stuff. So I could actually get back into the studio space I had. And yeah, that was 7 years ago. I started that YouTube channel. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I can be immensely grateful actually for all that kind of shit I went through. And I'll do it again. 100%. If somebody said to me, Steve, you got to go through this bit of pain, but the reward at the end is going to be something that you can ever believe, and now like this year, I'm buying my first house. So I'm super excited about that. The business now is doing better than it's ever done before. Last year, literally to the day, I picked up the keys to this place I'm sat in right now, and it was a completely empty industrial unit. I sat downstairs at the bottom of this warehouse and I made a video to my community, and in that video I told them the dream I had. And the dream was to build a gaming center where people could come and play and enjoy their games, and we could play tournaments and we could coach people from downstairs. And upstairs would be built into a recording studio. So I've got an incredible podcast studio here. We set this up to do product photo shoot, painting tutorials, clothing brand shoots, you name it, it does it. And then next door is our fully gaming setup studio, right? So we live stream every Wednesday night, and we've got this most beautiful table, incredible, backdrops and everything else, so we can play our favorite game. Anyway, so I raised, and it is all thanks to the community of YouTube that enjoy our content. We raised just under 150,000 in 4 weeks, and I built the place in 6 weeks. We then moved in, and it was the hardest I've ever worked in my life, and I've never project managed something like this before. So we've now got two state-of-the-art facilities for content creation you could ever imagine. The cameras we've got could make Netflix documentaries. And yeah, we've got a space that me and the team have worked so hard of, and we're really proud of, and we love coming into work every day. And we've got we still like pinch ourselves of can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I pulled it off. I still think I'm an idiot that just managed to get lucky. But yeah, what a like transformation. But it all does come from having a few things. That number one, that instilled belief of I can do this because I've done other hard shit, and that going through prep is the easiest thing to resonate that to. And also having drive and ambition that bodybuilding teaches you to have, and dedication, and that building a business, just like building a physique, is a 10-year project. You're not going to build a business overnight. And when you start to hit that 10-year mark, I feel like you start to really, and I truly believe that now. We're year 8 now. And I think, in another 2 years' time, I'm really going to start to see the masterpiece.
Mm.
So I think that 10-year, 10,000 hour sort of quote is really nice, and it fits there well. So yeah, that's where we're at now.
That's why I wanted to ask, because there will be people listening. I talk to many people that are not in the best spot. They are in that darkness. They've potentially hit rock bottom for a multitude of reasons, and whatever that may be, I often reference there's always hope, there's always drive, and I attribute that to when you've been through the shit, you know you can get through more shit, and
Hmm.
you often look for opportunities. Matt winds me up and he says the house could be on fire, and you'd be like, it's cool, we got this. But that comes with time, that comes with dealing with challenges.
Experience.
Yeah, it comes from going through shit to go, do you know what? I will get there, I will get there. And it's true, people.
You you got two types of people as well. You got the people that are, they're always victims.
For sure.
And then you've got other people that take ownership for their shit, and they actually just really put the work in to make it better. So um, I was recently in a car accident, right? So I was in a car accident at the start of May. Car was written off, as I said. And somebody just pulls. I was driving down dual carriageway. Somebody pulls through a red light, T-bones me, smashes my car, spins out. I have to climb. All the airbags have gone off. Car's full of smoke. I have to climb out the back, and anyway, like I'm on the phone to obviously the emergency services. I've got blood all down my arm, whatever. But I got out of it with literally just a little scar on my arm where the airbag kind of burnt it off. And then, right, I could either be like moaning that it happened to me, which, obviously super frustrating. But the first thing is, hey, I'm grateful to be alive for God's sake. Um, and then I have to deal with insurance companies. Now they're a pain in the ass, or mine certainly have been, or just level up. And it's just getting frustrated with the level of incompetency of people. And I'm like, how do you make this much money and at this shit? Because I wouldn't settle for that. I just wouldn't. So that does wind me up. But anyway, because I just expect better of people in a profession like that. One of the best quotes I ever said to somebody, they were giving me this like, oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I just turned around and said, have you ever been in a car accident? And they said no. I said, well then
Don't understand.
don't say you don't say you understand because you don't. You can say I'm so sorry that's happened to you, or how do we try and get you the best resolution? What is it that you want? Help me understand what you're going through. That's how you actually show true empathy. And coaching is just the same.
Sure. Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, yesterday, after 3 months of fighting with my insurance company and everything else, and lots of worry about what's going to happen, just like everything, I put all my research, every single ounce of what I had into finding out what the insurance company would owe me, the best way to ensure that I got the maximum amount of that value and not let them off the hook if they tried to do whatever. Chased, called them daily. And in the end, now I ended up getting a car, a fully electric car. I picked it up yesterday. I managed to do it through the company, which is great. So there's some really good benefits because obviously if you get an electric car, there's a lot of promotions for that type of stuff in benefits to do so. So now I've got a much better car, but it's costing me personally less money because it gave me a chance to get out of my previous finance agreement and into a car that's better for the environment, better for me. So yeah, sure, it was shit to go through that, but I'm now in a sort of better vehicle and I'm in a better place because of it, right? It also made, I think, the relationship between me and Amy much stronger because she was in the car behind me and saw the whole accident unfold and was like, we just kind of had this really like big appreciation for each other, which was amazing because yeah, like she ran over to me and she didn't know what state I was going to be in inside that car. So that was great. I can be really grateful that she was there to support me and also we've kind of got through that. So many things to be grateful for. And you just got to find out, you know, it could have been worse
Mm-hmm.
and just focus on, oh, not that I was in the second car accident in my favorite car at the time. And this is I had to wait 6 months to get the car anyway. And then 6 months later has been written off again. I'm like, what is going on? Like, yeah, that's really annoying, but I must be the luckiest unlucky person. Um,
Way to frame it.
yeah. Although this really does hack me off though. And this hacks me off because it's out of my control. Your premium goes up on your insurance policy if you're in an accident and it's not your fault.
Stop. Does it?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is ridiculous, but it is. They probably think that, oh, you could have. They put your premium up because they probably think, oh, you could have avoided it or something.
I didn't
But
know that.
I
Fuckers.
didn't know that, and so I kicked off big time. I was not happy about that.
You know who I am.
No, I don't drop that one. But yeah, unless they play Warhammer, yeah,
Well, but before
then they
we
might.
finish, we have to give a shout out to Tom Hames. And
What a nerd.
people I mean, people I've had him on the pod, right? And I was like, I've heard you do something in your free time called Warhammer, and he was like, oh yeah.
I bet he was like a giggly little teenage girl, wasn't he, about it?
Yeah, first time he smiled and giggled on the pod, and I feel like because I know and I appreciate his hobby, he likes
Yeah,
me a bit more. He talks to me a bit more. It shows, which is super cool. I
yeah. I can't get him to shut up is the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you get I feel like the real version of Tom, he's fucking sound. Like I feel like if he likes you and you gel and you get the vibe, He's really fucking cool.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
it.
yeah. Just ask him how his AC/DC's doing. He'll know what you mean. Yeah, and it's not the band. Yeah.
Stephen actually coaches Tom, so yeah, for the Warhammer world.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we that was last year. I helped him get ready for some tournaments. So
Oh,
yeah.
I love
And then
it.
he was coaching me at the same time. So we did like a trade swap. So that was good. And he's somebody that I would trust with that sort of side of things, which is great. He certainly knows his stuff when it comes to bodybuilding. He gets great results for people. Yeah, and it was also funny because when we started chatting, turns out we'd actually worked with a lot of the same clients as well.
Oh, that does, of course, that sort of goes
Yeah.
around the place, doesn't it? Love
Yeah,
it.
but that was good. So yeah, I feel like I've kind of forgotten a lot about bodybuilding, but then having like some of the conversations we've had today, it sort of comes back to you, doesn't it, about sort of methodologies or philosophies of coaching, and yeah, certainly I've appreciated the conversation because it's yeah, just kind of got my inspiration back. Yeah, I need to go and hit the gym at some point today. I was going to go do it this morning, but I thought if I do legs, I'm going to be in a bad way for this podcast. So
That's true. That's true. I have to consider it when I do a podcast.
I I want to do it with a shout out, if that's all right, Sarah. So I learned how to train from somebody that was an absolute animal in the gym, and recently he's passed away. So Dr. Josh Hill spent many years helping people around him at Bath University when he was training, and he was immensely strong and an attitude for training that was just furious. He would break people, and I've never seen anybody so strong train. And everyone says, "Oh, I know someone strong." I'm like, "Yeah, but you haven't met Josh." So he would put people to shame. Honestly, with work ethic was ridiculous. So now I've got like a bit of a screw loose when it comes to training because that was like how I learned to train was doing pre-exhaustion sets and a lot of like dog crap training, and it's brutal like sets called widow makers for God's sake. Um
Savage stuff. Savage.
yeah, where you weren't on leg press allowed to ever lock out because you couldn't ever take tension off your quads. 100 set calf raises, right? So when I know I do legs, I've got this stupid mentality that I have to train like that. Yet basically at the minute, my legs are nowhere near as strong as they used to be because they're nowhere near as conditioned that in terms of the training, because I just haven't been able to get like leg training in. Because well, it's a whole magnitude, and that's a whole different podcast altogether. Is like how you come back to training after time off, because in your head you think, "Oh yeah, I'm strong as hell, I can lift that," but your body's like, "No, you're a pussy, so put that down, or I'm going to punish you
For
tomorrow."
4 days after, like, fucking hell.
Yeah. And then it takes you longer to recover. And then it's like mentally, like, can I go through that pain again? And your body's like, well, I told you, don't train like a dick. But your ego got involved. So now I'm like, oh shit, I got to go train legs again. And then I feel like I'm training like just, well,
Not but
it's
like,
pathetic.
yeah, well, like you say, it could be a podcast in itself because it's certainly like it's a weird space. But what I would say is from having major surgery myself last year and coming back from that, it gave me what you have described from like the car crash, the context for life, but also
Hmm.
appreciation to even be able to train and do the thing. But it's always in the back of your mind. Well, I used to do those numbers. Well, I used to do that. Well, I used to do, and it's like just allow that to fuel the progression that's coming.
Yeah, and as you get older, you just get injured over anything and everything. It's mad. It's
It's
horrible.
mm, the clock of life that is inevitable, but it doesn't make it easier.
Yeah.
And
No,
I will,
absolutely.
of course, say, and as I've said in the podcast, it's hard to quantify in words. Hopefully, people have got a bit of insight into, what we've shared, and we still very much have that mutual respect, as you can hear, guys. But finding a coach that does believe in you, that helps you manage expectations, that helps you become a good bodybuilder, like it honestly, it's hard not to get up. It's changed my life, you know? working with you. So thank you.
Well, it changed mine as well, Sarah. It did. And you honestly, like I said, my greatest ever achievement when it comes to the people that I helped and that's not no disrespect to anybody else because they all treat great things, but I think the legacy that you've had and now the fact that you've gone on and you're helping so many other people is truly just remarkable. And there's some real people out there. I think about what they've done in their careers and the other people that they've then gone on to help as well. I think is truly exceptional. But the journey that you went on was, yeah, I remember those first progress pictures you sent in. Still, I could still probably see them now. I might even have them in a folder somewhere. Uh,
I
yeah, but and that just goes to show, right? Like I'm actually working with someone at the minute. He's my longest ever serving client, and I told him recently, I was like, look, you got to stop because
Come
I
on,
haven't
Dan.
put his I haven't put his prices up at all. I just like because I can't justify that, and But he's like, no, I just need the accountability, Steve. Because if I didn't have you just to check in with, then I wouldn't do anything. So, we had the joke about that, and then we met up for food in a training session recently, which was great. And we probably catch up every couple of weeks for 15 minutes or so to go over bits and bobs in next steps. Which reminds me, he owes me an update this Sunday. But yeah, so that's like 10, I think over 10 years now he's worked with me. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
He's in great shape, like absolutely phenomenal shape. His arms are bigger than mine. Gutted about that. But yeah, what sort of coaches have that level of client retention, right? Is mad. So it was a privilege to work with you. Well, and a pain at times working you for 8 years, but there we go.
Guys, I can't press stop until I say this. I remember my first show day and I messaged you, please may I have a chewing gum? I don't want it to ruin my physique. But we'll leave it there, guys, because you got enough insight.
Did I reply? 'Cause I
No,
feel like now I wouldn't reply to that.
no. Stephen would always say if I asked a question that I knew the answer to and I was essentially looking for validation, he would
I
say,
wouldn't give it.
"What? Yeah." You'd say, "Well, what do you think?" And I'd say, "Well, I don't know. What do you
So
think,
why are you
Sarah?
asking me, Sarah? Exactly.
Sarah, what do you
Why
think?"
are you asking me? Yeah. It was I used to have a volleyball coach and he was so good at volleyball. It was ridiculous because that was my main sport at uni and I was in like the like GB development sort of squad for staff and anyway, so I'm making that sound like I was much better than I really was, but anyway, yeah. I played at a good level and I was surrounded by some fantastic players, but the coach there was brilliant, right? He never ever gave you a compliment. So you knew if he didn't say anything in training, you had a perfect session.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
he was talking, you're like, shit, shit. So I think some of that I liked. So I was like, yeah, I'll embed that into some of my coaching because often just saying nothing gives people time to actually think about what they're going to say rather than just. Also, you can't just constantly be somebody's.
You want to teach them to guide.
Huh?
You want to guide them to. You're coaching them to
Yeah.
understand the answers themselves. That's the whole point, isn't it?
You got to learn to fail and fail really quickly, I think, to be successful at that. So anyway, there we go, Sarah. I don't know how long's your normal show because we've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, well, you're gonna love this. So, a couple of people over the 3.5 years of doing the podcast, but the one I always do the longest ones with are when I get Dr. Scott on because we do what we did. Like we talk about so many different things, and it's brilliant.
Right,
It's brilliant, and it's something that people quite like the mixture of the longer episodes and the shorter ones because it's like it's two friends chatting and they're doing their cardio or whatever. So yeah, you and Scott have very similar podcast skills. I'll give you that.
right.
Little flex.
Just it's just the microphone. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's just a
thank
good
you for your
microphone.
time. Of course, 8 years worth plus the 2015 today.
Yeah, I'll bill you later.
Love it. And I will speak to you soon.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
See you later.